Hello and welcome back to Bicycle Legs and another episode of Anniversary Albums. Today we're going to be talking about 10 albums that have a significant anniversary in the month of December for 2021. And let's get right into it. The first album, most of these, by the way, you'll find with December albums in particular, tend to be released in the first half of the month so that they can be there on time for the Christmas market. So we'll find a lot of these are front loaded into the first week or two of December. The first one we're going to talk about is celebrating its 50th anniversary this month on the 3rd of December. It was released originally on the 3rd of December 1971, and that is the debut album by the Electric Light Orchestra, also known as No Answer in the US. This is with Roy Wood still in the band, along with Jeff Lynne and Bev Bevan. And this is where it all started. This is much sort of proggier and experimental than later Electric Light Orchestra would be. But I think it's a wonderful album. It's a great start for a great band. A band that I really, really love. Also released on the 3rd of December 1971, so having its 50th anniversary this month, is Islands by King Crimson. Now that's the cover that most people are familiar with. And there was also this cover used in the US and I think maybe in Canada as well, I'm not sure. King Crimson's most pastoral album. It was another one of those King Crimson lineups that only lasted for one album, with Boz Burrell on bass and vocals, and Ian Wallace on drums, along with Mel Collins on sax, and obviously Robert Fripp, who's on every King Crimson album. There's a couple of real rocking tracks on this album, like The Sailor's Tale and Ladies of the Road, but a lot of this album is very gentle and pastoral and almost orchestral. In fact, in the case of Song of the Gulls, it is absolutely orchestral. I really like this album. I know it doesn't get rated as one of King Crimson's better albums, but I think there's some beautiful music on this album. The next album I'm going to talk about is having its 45th anniversary in the month of December. It was released on the 5th of December 1976. It's a seminal album, and it is Oxygene by Jean-Michel Jarre. Now this, it may surprise some of you to know, was actually not his first album. I believe it was his third, but it's the first album that got any sort of major attention. Just a wonderful album of electronic music. It's not, synth pop or anything like that. It's much more sort of, think of sort of early Mike Oldfield, Tubular Bells, that sort of thing, but done entirely on electronic keyboards. I've loved this album since I was a kid. And weirdly enough, Oxygen Part 2 got used in the movie Gallipoli, which is about World War One. So I don't know why you would use synthesizer music in a film about World War One, but that's probably where I first heard Jean-Michel Jarre. Anyway, I love a lot of his albums, and this was my introduction to him as a kid. Now, an album celebrating its 10th anniversary this month. It was released on the 6th of December 2011, and that is El Camino by the Black Keys. Now, their previous album, Brothers, had sort of got them into the mainstream, but this was the album that really broke them into sort of superstardom, as it were. Wonderful, gritty, bluesy rock, with just little hints of keyboard here and there, but mostly just guitar and drums. Really great album. Love it. Grooves like hell. Just a wonderful album. Now this album's having its 45th anniversary. It was released on the 8th of December 1976. It's an album I absolutely had to talk about because it's just one of the biggest selling albums of all time. And that is Hotel California by the Eagles. Now, I know a lot of people probably have heard the title track to death. I probably never need to hear that song again. But there's some great music on this album, there's no doubt about that. It's an Eagles classic for a reason. It sold billions of copies for a reason. Yeah. The next album I'm going to talk about is having its 55th anniversary this month. It was released on the 9th of December 1966, and that is A Quick One by The Who. This is actually a double LP. It's got The Who Sell Out as well. But yeah, this is where I think The Who started to really find their sound, getting sort of, you know, away from the R&B covers and that sort of thing, and getting more into very much their own sound that they would then make their own in subsequent albums, eventually with getting into things like Tommy and Who's Next. I love The Who, I love early Who, I love later Who as well, but yeah, fabulous album. The next album I'm going to talk about is having its 45th anniversary this month. It was released on the 10th of December 1976. In fact, the next two albums were both released on the 10th of December 1976. The first one I'm going to talk about is Queen's A Day at the Races. Often gets overshadowed by its big brother A Night at the Opera, and for obvious reasons. But there's some wonderful stuff on this album in its own right. I mean, Tie Your Mother Down's a great opener. You Take My Breath Away is beautiful. Somebody to Love might be my favourite Queen song, I don't know. It's certainly right up there. I've always thought that song was absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, I mean, a really, really good 70s Queen album. The other album that was released on 10th of December 1976 is this behemoth, Wings Over America, triple live album. And Paul and the band are in wonderful form on this album. Great live versions of every song that they play on here, including the song Soily, which never got released anywhere else until I think it may be a bonus track on one of the recent Paul McCartney reissues. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great songs on here. There's a few Beatles songs, not too many. It's mostly Wings material. But they're wonderfully played, really energetic, great live versions on this album. The next album I'm going to talk about is having its 50th anniversary this month. It was released in the US on the 13th of December 1971. It didn't get a UK release until early the next year. And that is Straight Up by Badfinger. Now, this is probably my favourite Badfinger album. Produced by Todd Rundgren, except for a few tracks that were produced by George Harrison. It's got Day After Day on it, which is a you know, absolute classic. Baby Blue, just wonderful songs. Every single song on this album is just absolutely wonderful, Beatlesque music that you expect from the very, very best of Badfinger. Great album. I'm so happy I own a copy of this on vinyl. I don't own all the Badfinger albums, and I really need to rectify that. Now, the last album I'm going to talk about is a Stone Cold classic. It's having its 50th anniversary this month. It was released on the 17th of December 1971, and that is Hunky Dory by David Bowie. I mean, what can you say about this album? It's the album that came immediately before Ziggy Stardust. It sounds nothing like Ziggy Stardust. It's a lot lighter. It's not glam rock like the previous album even, Man Who Sold the World, is a pretty rocking album. This one is a lighter album, but it's still got wonderful, wonderful songs on it. I mean, it's got Life on Mars, which again could be my favourite David Bowie song. it's definitely right up there. I mean, so many good songs on here, though. I mean, the song for Bob Dylan, Queen Bitch, Andy Warhol, Oh You Pretty Things, Changes. What a single Changes is. Yeah, I mean, just a great, great album. So those are my anniversary albums for the month of December 2021. Let me know in the comments which ones of those are your favourites, which ones you may not care for so much. Tell me if there are any that you think I left out. Remember that I'm going for significant anniversaries in my monthly anniversary album, so that's like anniversaries ending in a 5 or a 0. So 45th, 50th, 10th, that sort of thing. So if you think I've left anything out, please let me know in the comments. Please like, share and subscribe. It really does help the channel out. I really appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, as well as hitting that subscribe button, please go and have a look at some of my other videos and give them a watch. It would really help the channel out as well. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one.